Okay, so something that gets asked all the time. It's been a minute since I made one of these. Something that I get asked all the time, and I've made videos in the past on what you need to research. Parts lists. Okay, parts lists. When you are buying a custom lightsaber to be installed, there are a lot of people who will buy all the parts and have an inventory stock in their office or wherever it is that they do their installs. They will have all that, and they will charge you the amount and say, here you go, here's all this stuff, and you can just click buy now and not have to deal with it. So there are people who are like that, and they provide a great service. Me, I have always stood by this. I think it's just the safest route, for my opinion, to go when you're doing installs for people, is that they buy all the parts, the hilt, everything, send it to me, and I install it for them. There are instances where I will help them, guide them through what they need to get for the build, because everything changes, everything varies. Some hilts need this part, some hilts need that part. Not every hilt is the same, unless it's the exact same hilt. I'm gonna go over parts that you need to familiarize with if you come across someone like me who makes you do the homework. Reason for why I want people to supply everything is because in this game there's a lot of variables that, if you're not careful, can bite you in the ass. If you supplied all the parts and the hilt, and for some reason I couldn't get to your commission, which I am shutting commissions down for a while until I can catch up on everything that's coming my way. But if that's the case, then it's, hey man, you don't owe me anything other than, you know, sorry it didn't work out. Here's all your stuff back. So we have a cleaner transition of, I'm just going to ship everything that came in the box back to you, instead of I need to pull out all the electronic parts that I had invested into. So that way, whenever it comes to me, like if that didn't happen, then I'd have to pull all those out. Now I have used components, and that's no good. So, hey, you keep it down over here. So what I'm gonna try to go over real quick is just a simple parts list, places you can get them. I've done this again, I've done this before, but we're gonna make a specific parts list video for what it takes to have an installed lightsaber. Number one, I always say this to every single person that asks me about an install. Very first thing, and the most crucial thing in my opinion, is your soundboard. Gone over this. Everyone who has a YouTube channel for lightsabers will go over it in full detail on different soundboards. But what you need to figure out is which soundboard you're gonna want to use. And that is something that I got, every installer will probably get to the bottom of real quick. You've got a bunch of different soundboards. Usually for the DIY market, your top of the line is considered to be Profi board, and Profi board is something that is it's got a big learning curve to it. It's considered more for the hardcore enthusiasts who are willing to put in the work to learn how to use the board. I myself had to put in a lot of work to understand how it works. So lots of coding. It seems a little daunting to a lot of people who don't know what they're doing. When they look at it, it looks like the Matrix. So you're trying to figure it out. So understandable. So that is something that is, yes, a lot of people want it, but you need to find out. Do some research. This is all about doing research. Please, people, do your research. Just do your research. The Profi board is a high level board when it comes to a lot of things. It does a lot of really cool things, but you're gonna have to learn a lot. Profi to CFX. CFX is one that I love. I've used it a lot. It has great out of the box stuff. It's fairly simple to learn. You just, again, have to look and read through the manual. People read the manual. There are manuals for these soundboards. Okay, a lot of people ask questions about soundboards. There are Facebook groups. There are manuals. People have already troubleshoot through all these problems, I guarantee you. So just do some reading. If you don't want to learn and you don't want to read, then maybe this hobby's not for you. You've got the CFX, which is great. They've got the Golden Harvest version 3 from SaberTech, which is a really cool board. Very user-friendly, very easy to install, just all around love it. I got a new version coming my way soon, and I can't wait to test it out. You also have the Verso, the KR Verso. KR Verso is at the saberarmory.com. You can get the board. It's now updated to do a lot of stuff to keep it competing with these other boards, as far as blade styles, additional fonts, 2-button, 1-button, all these different things. Soundboards are a whole nother deal. This is mainly about the list of things you need to get. That's a whole nother video on each soundboard. You can do a video on each separate soundboard entirely, but I'm telling you right now, right off the bat, you're going to need your soundboard, and places to get them will vary. For CFX, I usually go to the customsabershop.com. Now there is a component shortage in the world right now. Anybody watching this video back in the future is going to be like, holy cow, I remember those dark times. Before the dark times, there's a shortage right now. It's really hard to get lost soundboards. Profi boards for sure are hard to get. You can get those from the saberarmory.com also, as well as your KR Verso boards. Might be able to find them from different vendors. There's a bunch of different distributors. I myself don't know every single person where to get them, but if you search them, ask around, you can find links. From the soundboard, next thing you're going to need to know is basically you're going to need your inner diameter of your hilt. You're going to need to know what it is. So say you have a lightsaber and you're like, okay, this guy right here is your body to your lightsaber. Now you need to know what this guy is. It's called an inner diameter, an ID. So for your saber to be installed correctly, you're going to need to know what it can take. So for the most part, a lot of people use the same stuff. This is why it's kind of like, you know, you're repeating yourself over and over and over again. You're gonna need to know if you can take a 28mm speaker, 24mm speaker, 22. They get small. Me personally, I like to use just 28mm speakers, kind of my jam. But if you see right here, well, it actually fits one pretty good. This guy would fit in there, right? So 28mm speaker would work. Bust out these calipers, you know what I'm saying? 29.9 millimeters. So I know that a 28mm speaker will fit in there. Now, if you're getting into custom chassis, custom design chassis, that's good. Some installers might have them. If you're a real boy like me, I've got one. If you're a real installer boy, no, you will need to know, you know, removable battery option. And if that's the case, keep power. I like to use the 18650. You always want, if you're going NeoPixel build, you always want an 18650 15 amp high drain battery. You can get them removable and you can get them for in-hilt. So the thing is with, I'm kind of jumping around on topics here, but it's all in the same house. With speakers, you got your 28mm, 24, all that stuff, that's fine. You can figure that out. Usually in the description of your lightsaber, it will say holds a 28mm speaker, holds a 24, and so on. You can get 28mm speakers from Smugglers Outpost, which is where I get all of mine. They are, my experience, the best speakers I've come across. Thoroughly enjoy them. You got a full range speaker, which is great, and then you got a dark side one, which is a little bit more bass heavy. It's and then your dark side will look like this guy. It's a black face type thing going on. So you can also get you know, KR Saber cell speakers. So mainly what, you know what, this is so off topic. Mainly you can get a lot of components from, and I've said this a lot, the customsabershop.com is where I get a lot of my parts. Then you also got the saberarmory.com. Components, all that stuff. Your 18650 15 amp high drain battery is important for a NeoPixel build. You can get them removable, but your chassis needs to be able to have a removable option. In-hilt, if you get an in-hilt where your saber just can't, you know, it doesn't untwist, slides out, what have you, you have to get what's considered an in-hilt battery, so it's externally charged. You will need a recharge port. There's a 2.1mm recharge port, kind of the standard. You can have them, sometimes they're just in the chassis, sometimes they're on the outside of the body. That is on the customsabershop.com. You can get cheap ones from China on Amazon or stuff like that, just depends on what you want. And then also you're gonna have to get your switches depending on what kind of saber you have. You can have tactile switches, you can have AV switches, you can have micro, you can have stuff that goes under the cards. Usually the installer will say, hey, I got switches, we're good. Like, it's not, switches aren't that big of a deal. Then you're gonna need your NeoPixel connector. Very important if you're doing NeoPixel. If you're not, you're doing Tricree. You know, what year is it? I don't know why. No, I'm just kidding. There's a lot of people who still use Tricree for dueling and stuff like that. Your NeoPixel connector, there are, you know, the, I like to use the CC Sabers lit NeoPixel connector. Your lit NeoPixel connector is actually on, it's actually down in there. So when you light it up, all the lights are in there. Then you just take any blade plug and slide it in. These are really cool. I do enjoy them. That is one option that I think has been really cool. You can get stock NPXLs, same thing, pretty much. Same concept. Or you can get just a very standard one where there are no lights and it's just an easy hookup, depending on if you want to spend the money or how you want to do it. But you will basically need, for almost every lightsaber, you're going to need your NeoPixel or Tricree connector. You're going to need your 2 switches or 1 switches, depending on how it goes. You're going to need a chassis that houses the battery, the soundboard, and the speaker. Those are very important. There's not a lot of elements that really go into it. I know some people are completely lost on where to go and what to get, but do a little bit of research and it will go a long way in helping you buy or build your lightsabers. The more you know, honestly, the better. So if you don't want to know, hey, that's fine. But I will tell you, it goes a long way if you just do a little bit of research, ask around. What's a good option for this? Where can I get? Does anybody know where there are batteries right now? Don't use any unprotected batteries. You don't want your saber to go boom boom. You want to make sure that you get a protected 18650. You can get the 2700s too. A lot of people are getting bigger batteries, but again, it comes down to space. You have to understand space is important when it comes to these lightsabers. You have to, you know, what can you fit in here? You know what I mean? Like, can you fit everything in this little spot? It's crazy. You also get different, there are different options. You can do the pogo pin connectors, which is what I did for this guy, for the chassis. I actually designed and 3D printed a holder for this dude. So body comes off, 28mm speakers in there. Y'all keep in mind, this is not the prettiest. This is Wire City because I crammed a lot of stuff in here. This guy holds your soundboard, right? Soundboard's right there. My speaker's right here. My battery's right there, and then this is the Smugglers outpost pin system connector. So, sorry, can't really focus in on that. So this guy connects to a pin system in there. Once this goes down in here, whoops, actually, let's go. Once this guy goes down in there, it bounces on my pins. Now the two switches, the crystal and the connector, are all connected to one.
Spectrum.
That NeoPixel connector, two switches, and then battery, soundboard, speaker. And that is everything you really need for a build. Now, when it comes to blades and stuff like that, you're gonna have to obviously, I would say, just buy them. Everyone who does blades sells them for a great price. I don't like building blades, so I turn that down. Also, I would charge more for my time. You just basically need those things. Now, go and look at the Custom Saber Shop. Go and look at the saberarmory.com. Go and look at, you know, on Etsy. Another place I like to get stuff is SaberBay. SaberBay, I think, is on break, but you can find a lot of cool things there. Lots of batteries, lots of chassis. There's only, you know, don't let it feel too overwhelming when it comes to parts. Just read the descriptions. Is this the battery I need? Yes. Is this the right speaker size I need? Yes. I mean, you can do Vecos for if you want to save money. The KR has speakers. Lots of people have their own parts, so you really only need a few things, but you need to dive into what you want out of those few things. Basically, you only need a few components to really bring the lightsaber to life. I don't know how many times I could say, you know, doing some research goes a long ways. But if you learn this, it will make your buying experiences easier. So familiarize yourself with what do I need? You need speaker, battery, soundboard, chassis, switches, NeoPixel connector, or Tricrete, and heatsink module and all that stuff. That's basically it. I mean, it's really not that much. So you can make it as complicated as you want. You know, you got mini PCBs for crystals and all that, but a basic lightsaber setup is just going to run you those things. And I'll leave links in the description to some places I get that kind of stuff, but I really wanted to make this video so I could save myself some time and say, here, go watch this video. I get almost daily people wanting me to shop for them. Like, hey, can you just put the list together that I need? It depends on what kind of lightsaber you have. It depends on what kind of board you're gonna go with. It depends on what kind of battery you're gonna go with. It depends on what kind of chassis you're gonna go with. So to make a general, like, here's the list, like, there you go, just go get those, is hard to say because everything varies. There's too many variables. What if somebody says, hey, I want a Goth 3D Designs crystal chamber chassis system? And then I go, okay, you bought the wrong battery. You need an in-hill battery. And then they're like, oh, Lord, it's not that big a deal. Just go to those sites and find out which battery you need. I'll leave a link in the description, and I will try my best to help people with questions, but you guys also have to understand that I am just one person. doing this. So, a lot of questions, and I'm happy to help out with them. But for me, somebody who doesn't want to do the research, it makes me feel like you're just using me for my time, straight up. Now, if you want to learn, I'm happy to help you and go, here, man, check this out. I'm happy to go here. Here's this spot. But if you come to me and you're like, fill up my shopping cart and I expect to have it by the end of the day, I'm gonna go, no. I had to do all the research myself, man. I had to learn. I had to figure it out. Just do a little research. That's all I'm asking of you. That's all I'm asking you. I hope that helped. I don't really know how helpful this video will be or how snarky it will sound. But I mean, I have to say, if I were just helping people find their parts all day long, that would be a full-time job in of itself. Hopefully this helps you. Thank you guys so much. And yeah, I'm gonna be pointing you to this video if you ask me that. So watch this video, sink it in. I'm laying down a path for you to go and learn to help you, help me, help you. Can't do that unless you help me help you. All right, guys, thank you so much, and may the force be with you.
Who's scruffy looking?